Hello, it could be another final here. Hello, it could be another final and more here.
I was surprised they managed to find the money for Ishan and Kishan, but I think that's a really nice piece of business.
I would want to see SRH try Ishan Kishan at number 5 because that's where he thrived. Number 4, number 5 for Mumbai in the 2020 season.
2016, you hear SRH and you feel they are a side that is setting the games up with the ball. This SRH clearly a side that is wanting to outbat teams.
Hyderabad, because they were the finalists. They got some stellar buys. And what do you guys feel? I just want to start with Dan here, because I think Ramna Kiran earlier said, expose the Sunrisers. They don't have a proper number 7. But look, if you look at that team on paper, Dan, does that give you some sort of conviction saying, hello, it could be another final here. Hello, it could be another final and more here. How do you rate them?
Yeah, I agree that they don't have a proper number 7, but I think in this impact sub era, you can maybe get away with it. Certainly with the Cummins, an 8 with it, if they have an impact sub batter coming in. Harshal and Rahul Chapar both kind of 9s, really, you would say. So they do have just about enough. And I think that with their retentions, they were always going to be fighting for scraps at this auction. I think they had 45 crore left to spend after the retentions. And obviously with Head and Abhishek and Klaasen and Nitish Kumar Reddy and Cummins, they have really had the core of their squad already. I think they've done some pretty decent business. I was surprised they managed to find the money for Ishan and Kishan, but I think that's a really nice piece of business. And getting Harshal Patel and Mohammad Shami as proven wicket takers at this level, especially if Shami's fit, which we're not quite sure about yet, so there's a little bit of a risk. Adam Zampa has been fantastic in the last year or two as well. Maybe might buck the trend of an overseas spinner doing well in the IPL, which we haven't seen that many of over recent years. So that kind of rounds off what I think maybe an 11 will be, with Abinav Manohar fitting in probably around that number 5 mark as well.
Where is Ishan Kishan bat for you? Sorry, where is Ishan Kishan bat for you now?
Probably 3, but then you've got a real problem of a lot of left-handers at the top of the order, which, I'd rather have a lot of left-handers than a lot of right-handers, but I still accept that leaves them vulnerable to maybe some matchups. I do think that having especially Abhishek Sharma as a fantastic player of spin, that does negate those issues a little bit, and actually, if teams look to go off spinner heavy against the Sunrisers top 3, which doesn't always happen that much in the IPL. A lot of teams are quite reticent to bowl spin in the power play. I think they can still overcome that, but I accept that that's maybe a tactical area that someone's going to try and exploit SRH with. It's really interesting as well to see that they've gone back to a couple of sort of lower profile Sri Lankans after they did that last year with the spinner, with the Muralitharan influence potentially with the young pacer Ishan Malinga and also Kaminde Mendis coming in as a batting backup as well. I don't really expect either of them to feature particularly prominently, but it's interesting that they've looked to try and find a couple of players to invest in. They've also brought in Bryden Cast from England as well. I don't expect him to play much unless but I suppose they would look at him as that direct replacement for Cummins if there was a problem with him.
Yeah, because Akshay, I want to ask you about SRH, bro, because Dan has kind of made some really good points about them right now and addressed that number 7 position. But your man Zishan Ansari, your man Abinav Manohar, your man Ishan Malinga, all these names that you actually wanted to see, maybe in RCB colours, have now gone to SRH. Your man Jaydev Anatkar as well. Okay, no, that's tongue in cheek. But look, essentially they have him, they have Simarjeet, they have Shami, they have Harshal, different crafty bowlers in their own right. But they're known for their batting because of last year. So how do you marry it all together? And what is Dan Vittori going to do as a coach?
In terms of batting, Ishan Kishan is an interesting addition. I don't see him batting in number 3 simply because that would mean, you're messing up Nitish Kumar, Andre Klaasen, and of course, eventually everyone's entry points. I would want to ensure that they are being taken care of. Last year, their top 4 looked something like Head, Abhishek, Nitish, and then Klaasen. I would expect them to sort of stick to that. I would want to see SRH try Ishan Kishan at number 5 because that's where he thrived. Number 4, number 5 for Mumbai in the 2020 season, where Mumbai really were just dominating every side in the IPL. It was Ishan Kishan at number 5 that worked for MI, and I want to see him come back to that role. I think he can do that, and it'll also add a lot of value to SRH as well. Two left-handers at the top, and then the two right-handers, and then Ishan Kishan coming in at number 5, followed by Pat Cummins, and all of that. I feel it'll add a nice little mix of left-handers and right-handers. So that's where I think they'll fit in Ishan at number 5, Abinav at number 6. Potentially Pat Cummins at number 7. I don't think Pat Cummins is too bad at number 7. Yeah, make no mistake, he still holds a record for having the joint fastest 50 in the history of IPL, and he did that against the likes of Bumrah. So he can handle himself. I'm not too worried about it. So I would want to see. What I want to see is, do they really stick to Adam Zampa, which I don't think they have to, at least to begin with. I know Adam Zampa is a much better wrist spinner than Rahul Chahar, but simply because of the fact that Rahul Chahar is an Indian, and I'd much rather use that overseas spot elsewhere. And to be precise, I don't think I'm not very confident of Mohammad Shami. I've been clear. I've made that clear even during our watch along. He's fresh out of an injury. He's 34 now, at least on paper. He's not really getting any younger. And on top of that, he's in the recent games that he played, he was clocking about 120, 125. It'll take him some time. I'm not saying that he won't get back to rhythm, but that's still a bit of risk. Given the fact that he will be playing the games at a stadium where the average score was about 220, 230, SRH wouldn't want to take. If I were a part of SRH, I wouldn't be taking that big a risk. Harshal Patel is a great addition to the side. SRH were losing bidders for Harshal Patel in the last mini auction and the last mega auction as well. So clearly, they've always rated him highly. Good to see them get him. 8 crores is not too bad a buy. Simarjeet Singh is someone I'm looking forward to. Unfortunately, CSK, he did not get a lot of opportunities at CSK, was also injured for a couple of seasons, so wasn't really available for them. This time around, he is available. He's had a cracking DPL, a skiddy customer, bowls quick. He's got a very good yorker. I'm expecting him to do well. So if anything, this is probably a bold call. I'm expecting at some part of the season, potentially not 25, maybe 26 even, Simarjeet to replace Shami in the 11 itself. So SRH that way, not bad, not too bad, but the bowling is still very mid. They've got a lot of options.
I'm just going to ask you that. Sorry, I'm just going to ask you that. Last year or this year, what attack do you think is good? Or is it an upgrade, a downgrade? Because they lost Nattu, they lost Bhuvi, but they've got Shami.
It's a downgrade.
Shami,
No, the moment you said Nattu, it's a downgrade. I'm sorry. Bhuvi, Nattu, both. If you ask me Bhuvi and Nattu or Shami and Harshal, I would say Bhuvi and Nattu. Simple.
Okay, fair enough. In the interest of time, then, how much do you think they've done in terms of the auction, in terms of points on 10, 7.5 plus?
Yeah, I would still give them an 8. And the thing is, I'm still slightly inclined to believe that they will be able to carry that batting form from last year. It's a very high risk, high reward approach. But I just feel this time around it might probably not come good. So I'll just say they probably finish 6th. And that's pretty much it for SRH.
Okay, interesting. There are lots of names added to their kitty right now. You guys can get all of it on cricket.com. They've got Sachin Baby as well, another name to enter their squad. Next, over to you then on SRH, because Ramna Kiran saying Victorian Core completely destroyed SRH's bowling identity. Speaking of identities, right, next, do you think the new players will just come in and buy the philosophy if the current players there, the current coach there, and everything will be just swimmingly all right?
In terms of the batting, you definitely feel so because the core is still the same. And I don't think you have to tell Ishan Kishan that you need to bat aggressively. He's more than happy to do that generally also. So I don't think it will be something that will be a bother. I agree with Ramana Kiran in the fact that 2016, you hear SRH and you feel they are a side that is setting the games up with the ball. This SRH clearly a side that is wanting to outbat teams and then have a bowling attack that can just defend them somehow. So I think that is the kind of feeling that I get with this team, that they'll have to get those extra 20-30 runs everywhere so that they can give these guys the cushion. Because as Akshay pointed out, Harshal is a good buy. Shami, we don't know with the injury, we don't know which one turns up and how he will eventually go. So they'll have to outbat teams. I'm happy that they got Rahul Chahar, but then you already have Adam Zampa, and I think Adam Zampa should start because he's one of those guys who will take a lot more wickets. And under Pat Cummins, I am generally hoping he's used also in the right way. So decent job in getting people. I don't know if there are people that they should have definitely bought back. Maybe Natarajan was the one guy I thought they could have and should have really gone after and kept him back, because otherwise it's an attack that can travel. So I just feel with SRH they'll have to outbat teams. If they do that, great. If not, then good luck.
So Akshay said sixth. Are you going higher or lower?
No, pretty much same. I can't think of any name that was very obvious that they missed out apart from Natarajan and others. So I think probably around the same. And I think they might have a mean reversion of what they had last year. Very difficult to continue that rate, and because now teams know. Maybe last year teams were caught by surprise. Now they'll be far more prepared for what is to come from them.
Okay, Dan, what was your SRH prediction in terms of where they'll finish?
Well, look, I'm more confident. I think that they really had a lot of constraints after spending so much with their retentions. You know, to kind of 2/3 of their budget pretty much on retentions. They were always going to have to make compromises and scrap around. I think that they've made compromises on their bench, probably primarily rather than their starting 11. If their first 11-ish is fit, they could beat anybody easily. The potential to beat anybody quite comfortably. I agree a little bit about the bowling identity question, and I think that they've maybe got a little bit of work to do. Do they put Rahul Chahar and Adam Zampa in the same team? Maybe that's a question mark. But I think that given the circumstances that they're in, which I think was pretty much non-negotiable, like they're not going to want to let any of the players that they retain go back into the auction pool. I think they've done fine, and I expect them to come in the top 4.
Okay, top 4. Love that. SRH fans, including Ramana Kiran, don't be so bemused with some selections. Just onwards and upwards, I guess. And remember, you guys made the finals, so just adding to what's already been a good squad.